birdmen stand thigh-deep in the murky, chill waters which lap listlessly at pebbles and into our dreams as we dream, forgotten, in our huts on the far shore. The birdmen, stolid and mute, ancient sentinels, standing mirthless, wordless, dutiful, guarding the shore of Arden. Here, where we resigned ourselves to live, in leafy, forgetful twilight, they stand steady and purposeful, facing the beach, sworn and bound to protect us from intruders, pirates who would land in the night, breach the dream, and break the spell. The birdmen, motionless in the dusk. But perhaps it is that they stand so willfully, so alert, not in watch for foe, but in waiting to seize any fleeing sleeper visited suddenly in the cricket-song dark, amid dog snores and unknown rustles in the trees, by cold panic and the foggy recalling of home.
You gods in heaven, you have watched me here in this tower all night, every night for 12 months, 13 moons, tethered on the roof of this palace like a dog. It's time to release me. I've stared long enough into this darkness for what never emerges.
Awakening to the strange land, colourful and lush, where the rivers steam hot and with exciting fury rush in the jungle's teeming depths, under the clamour and confusion of tropical birds in the trees, birds like you've never seen, like I've never seen. Humidity and steam condense the tight space between trees which tower and dwarf the stranger who gazes up in wonder, sweat crawling his naked skin, pulse pounding fast in his temple, with the jungle's omnipresent scream in his ears. And over the peaks in the bushlands, weird pilgrims wander in groups, with faces covered against whipping sands, dancing tirelessly between the dunes. Some herd animals, broad, muscular beasts, tired and full of complaint. Others haul great bones across the expanse, huffing strenuously, with gazes fixed on the sand, to throw on mounds with a crunch, expectant of some release or absolution. You look into their dark eyes, and they appear uncertain, cautious, like a child's on the first day of school, dark in contrast with the landscape, silhouettes against desert yellows. Bewildered drifters in a dazzling, alien place. The sand swallowing his feet is cool to the touch, as it loses heat gained over the course of the day. He stands slowly and unsteadily, as if wounded or exhausted. His triumph over the dunes is not felt. With chapped, dehydrated skin, dry and dusty as the desiccated land, starved for centuries of rain, the stranger presses onwards into these driftlands, with memory spun gently away beneath shifting light, sky ceremonies carried out with fervour and majesty, unfalteringly and regardless of human attention. In these tired hours before the arrival of the dawn, he moves with laboured breath, passes foreign bands of travellers who return glances of startled curiosity, kicking cans, scrap, rubber tires, burnt, withered trees and scrub, the shell of a blue bus, long abandoned with windows stolen, half buried by sand and time. These cooler hours are felt with most gratitude in the desert. The bleaching light dims, no longer disorientating. Extraordinary relief washes over, As the day's shriek subsides and some control is regained, the senses no longer blinded and tricked by the heat, footing more steady, vision once again keen. Fragments are allowed to surface in the aftermath of the delirious struggle to make ground when you were too hot to think. The faint resonance of a friendly voice, fresh and familiar, which permeated your dizzy brain, the sweet curve of a smile fleeting, a pot of chai tea shared in the sand dunes when you were a child. No single sign of life for miles and miles, just the rolling desert, godlike. You could cry. Remnants of another life, apparently dismissed as a dream, plucked and let to fly in the wind. You would ask why, but it's as though the words will not form. The trembling faces in the dust, unknowing and yearning, in need of a knowing hand to emerge from the mist, to guide them on some path home and the undoing of Lethe, before complete submission to the downstream currents. The recovery of what we ask to forget, pulling back from the edge at the critical moment, delivered from oblivion, allowed a final chance at remembering. But again, the thought escapes, dissolving in that lovely sky, cirrus clouds and out there, heavenly space, twinkling silent as sentience slips, astral fire like shimmering ships, and left again to wandering. The stranger follows aimless some uncertain trail, through jungle thick with live, ominous movements in the underbrush, and on, past the tree line, where he collapses dirty and sunburnt on the beach of the far shore. Those strange birdmen, upright, intimidate, unfeeling of the water's icy fingers at their ankles, and a few dying fires dotted down the beach. The breeze is gentle. It seems to herald from an infinite distance.
I'm tired of the constellations, that glittering parade of lofty rulers, night after night a little bit earlier, withholding the thing I wait for, slow as torture. And the moon, coming and going, wearisome, like watching the sea from a deathbed, like watching the tide in its prison yard, with its two turns in, out, in, out. I'm sick of the heavens, sick of the darkness. The one light I wait for never comes. Maybe it will never come.